All righty, guys. Happy Tuesday to everybody on this short game week. Blink and it'll be here. Important game for our season and everything that we want to accomplish, but a really special game, to be honest with you, for both teams and our city. This is one of the best rivalries in college football, a historic rivalry and a different rivalry. I've always thought, having a chance to be a part of this going to be my 11th time in this game. And it's special because, you usually look at rivalries and they're within the same state, maybe. You think of Tuscaloosa and Auburn, Alabama, or maybe it's different states, this week, Michigan and Ohio State. This is different because we all live together. We all grew up together. We all recruited by both teams. We know each other, have relationships, and so it's a special contest. We've got a lot of respect for UCLA, especially the job that Coach Kelly is doing a tremendous job. His team has improved, I think, with each and every game, and are really playing good football. They're hot. They're hot right now. Offensively, have a host of weapons, especially in the backfield. You start with DTR. He's probably the best creator in our league, and what I mean by that, just when bad plays happen, he finds a way to make them great. And you look at him right now, and he's got 70 yards rushing a game, 230 passing. He's creating 300 yards of offense every time he steps on the field, and just an elite talent. And it's fun to watch him. Hard to play against him, but fun to watch. Then you think of the other two backs that they've got back there. Felton is an elite player, obviously going to be a Sunday player, not only rushing the ball over 100 yards a game, but has 17 receptions on the year. He's great out of the backfield. And then Britton Brown has really come on and provided them even additional spark back there as a guy that's rushing for 6.3 yards a carry on his own. And is a physical back with tremendous speed. So they've got a nice 1-2 punch back there. Defensively, a lot different than last year, more aggressive, really living in the backfield. You can see the negative yardage plays just jump off the page when you're going through their stats. Blaylock is all over the place making tackles, but really Caleb Johnson and Osa are doing a tremendous job, not only for tackles of loss, but sacks. It's 8.5. They have 8.5 sacks between those two guys. So it's something that should be a lot of fun. The Rose Bowl, 4:30. We talk about playing when we started this thing, playing meaningful games in the month of December, and what a big game this is. That has a lot of implications. Not only a rivalry game, but will probably dictate what happens as far as the conference championship game. So a lot of fun. This is where you want. This is why you work so hard to get to this point, and credit to our kids and coaches for allowing us this opportunity to play this game and how meaningful it is. From an injury report status, Raylan Goforth did practice yesterday, started moving around, looked a lot better. We'll monitor him through the week, but a lot of positive things yesterday with that. Liam Jimmons, actually we pulled him from the game on Saturday, and Jonah went in. He sublexed his elbow. It's the same elbow he dislocated before, and so he was a little tender yesterday. We did not practice him. We'll see how he goes. Throughout the week. Tough kid. It'll be day to day for him. And then we had two season-ending injuries, which were sad. Two really good players that were having really good seasons. Greg Johnson has a slight meniscus tear in his knee. It will require surgery this week and will end his season. And then Jude Wolf broke a bone in his lower foot that will require a pin and will require surgery. And that will both those rehabs will push past the season. Both those two kids had a tremendous season, playing great ball and have tremendous futures in this game. So with that, I'll take any questions that you have.
Okay, thanks, Coach. Please raise your hand if you have questions. Keep yourself on mute. Otherwise, we'll start with Ryan Karchi.
Good morning, Clay.
Good morning.
Obviously, I know you talked about taking what the defense gave you in that game on Saturday, when you look
Mhm.
back at the tape of the second half, what was your takeaway overall?
Yeah, yeah. Ryan, I went back and watched it a couple times, and it looked like we all took turns. To be honest with you, I've always thought a good run game has to include all 11 men. Everybody thinks about the offensive line and blockers, but it's also the wide receivers out on the perimeter being able to block. It's the quarterback when we have RPOs tagged making the right decision. It's the runners making yards after contact and making safeties miss. And we just all took turns. I mean, I went back and watched it. There was a little bit more loaded box than I thought in the second half. They played a little more too high, than a lot more too high than they played in the first. But we still got some calls into a loaded box. But then we had a physical beat, a physical one-on-one beat on a counter play. We missed a twist game pickup on a draw. We had a couple times where the ball probably could have been spit out to the RPO versus a loaded box. And then, as runners, I talked to the guys yesterday about it. I thought we just got what was there, what was there rather than, they have done a great job this season in yards after contact and making people miss and creating explosive runs. They got us down. We had some opportunities one-on-one with a safety, and the safety made a great play, one for him. So I couldn't point out just one thing, Ryan. It was just I went through each and every play, and every play somebody else took a turn, and it was really one person. It wasn't an entire group, and it was at different positions. So I feel like we in the second half we all needed to do better across the board and express that to our football team. And I know that's going to be a point of emphasis for Graham this week, like it always is, with our run game and being able to lean on that when we need it. But that's kind of what took place in the second half. Just being honest, is they all took turns at each position.
With how well Keaton was playing and the fact that you guys did have a 4-touchdown lead, basically, how concerned are you after a performance like that, or do you just sort of chalk that up to, it's something that happens when you might take your foot off the gas a little bit in a game where you're leading that much?
Yeah, I think Graham put it best. I thought defensively we kept our emotions up, and I told the team this yesterday. I thought that consistency of passion and energy I thought it stayed up. I thought offensively there was a little lull in the second half, and from an energy level, and it's natural, but it can't happen, especially in this game coming up, because you look at UCLA, and I go back and I think even last year, some of the games, I know we all remember the Washington State game. I think they're up, Washington State's up 49-17. And all of a sudden you blink your eyes and it's like 69-62 or something like that at the end. I think of our game last year. I mean, it was 38-14. And all of a sudden we look up and it's 45-35 and it's fourth quarter and it's a ball game. And even this year, the Colorado game, it's 35-7. I mean, it's 35-7. Then you blink your eyes and it's 35-28. So this is a really important game to be able to play full 60 minutes to keep your foot on the gas pedal. I thought we did that defensively the entire night, especially with our energy. And we got to be able to do that consistently offensively. Not really worried about it. This team has taken coaching. That's one of the reasons I love them, Ryan. They're very coachable, and we've addressed things and they've fixed them, and they've improved as you look each and every week. They seem to improve each and every week, so they're headed in the right direction. And this is a coachable moment, and I know Graham and staff will do a tremendous job of getting the things that need to be fixed.
Ryan Abraham.
You're on mute, Ryan.
Ryan, mute.
There we go. All right. I hit it a couple times. Sorry. Morning.
Morning.
First couple games, obviously, you guys ran the ball well. You talked after the Arizona game about really to be a championship team running for 170 yards a game. That's something you wanted to be able to do. You won the last two games handily, but the rushing numbers have fallen off a little. Does that change the priorities for the offense at all? Like, do you need to be able to run the ball still, kind of be considered a championship team when you're still winning games without it?
Yeah, I think so, Ryan. I really do. I think because at some point in time, if you go back to those first two games, there may be a game your quarterback's just slightly off. like the Arizona game, and you're going to need that rushing attack to be able to take some pressure off of him. And that 175 yards that happened in that game was important. And so it is a priority for us. It's something that we work towards. Now, I will say this: if you line up and cover one and cover three every snap, you're probably going to get a lot of throws from us, and that happened a lot, especially in the first half, more in the second half than I thought. We got a little bit more advantage coverages and didn't take advantage of it as well as we should have in the second half. But if you come to the park and play man, there's a good chance that you're going to see a lot of throws, and we bank on our playmakers making those plays, and they did. So it's something that we always want to improve on. I think it's a mark of a good offense is being able to run the ball when needed. Not to say that we're going to force the run. We're going to take what the defense gives us, but we could do better in that game, right? I mean, we all know it. I mean, as coaches, as players, we can do better than we did versus Washington State in the second half. And so we'll get to work on it this week, and hopefully it is better than it was last week.
Adam Grossbard.
Clay, can you see Talanoa playing more linebacker these last few games, even if Raylan gets back healthy?
For us, that package was put in training camp for particularly spread offenses when you're truly a 10 personnel team and can pull it out at any point in time. A lot of your too high coverages, one of the things that happens to you is people try to attack the middle of the field, especially vertically. I mean, you see us do it with Drake all the time, right? If we can get him matched up on a Mike linebacker, the first thing that's happened is he's going through the middle of the field and going to take that advantage. When we came into the Washington State game, very respectful of their receivers, especially 9 and 1 in the slot and the slot positions, as well as the physicality of their runner. We had a special body in Talanoa because he has the athleticism of a defensive back, but the physicality of a linebacker at 215 pounds. And he can run through the middle of the field and match up with anybody going through it. And in this game with elite speed on the inside versus Washington State, we felt this was the time to pull that package out. Plus, it was a changeup that they had not seen, and with some pressures that they had not seen, and looks that we thought would be extremely hard on a young quarterback. Now, we always have the package. You may see it again this week versus spread sets, but it's a package that we entail a lot when people are trying to get in 10 personnel looks.
Okay, we'll go to Antonio.
Clay, how many players, if any, are you expecting back from COVID-19 protocol this week?
Obviously, we got to go through the protocol and testing, so I don't have a crystal ball. I do anticipate us being able to get players back. I'll give you a better feel maybe Thursday on exactly where we're at. But I can tell you yesterday we had our first test. And we were all negative, which is great. We want to continue that trend. But we are scheduled to get more players back this week as long as testing goes well.
And what was the conversation like this weekend or yesterday with EA when he told you he was going to enter the transfer portal?
EA is a great kid and a great family, and has done a lot of service for our football team. He came in and basically said, "Coach, I want to explore all my options." Obviously, as a head coach, you can't really do anything to stop it. But I've always looked at these situations in a matter of being supportive. Went through the pros of staying and left the door open, and so we'll support him through it, and I hope he's back with us next semester. But that'll be a decision that he makes for himself, and will support them through those decisions. It's part of college football, especially over the last couple of years, I think, in all universities. And my manner has been one of support and trying to let kids figure out what's best for them.
Okay, we have time for maybe one or so more while we wait for Graham to get on. We'll go to Ryan Young.
Clay, we've talked a little bit about Nick Figueroa, but going back to his recruitment, you guys don't take a lot of JUCO guys. What convinced you that he was a guy worth taking from those ranks and he can make the jump for you?
Yeah, it's kind of like, Ryan, I'll be honest with you, what he's doing right now. I remember them bringing him up to me, and watching the tape was just his consistency of play. You know, it really stood out to us game in and game out, just a physical toughness, a discipline about his game. A kid that never busted assignments, was a team kid, great student. He just had all the intangibles. And sometimes, you know, when you live in the state of California, there's so many great players that here's a kid that went to a smaller school and said, you know what, I think I can play even at a bigger stage. And so goes to junior college, makes that investment in himself. And you're right. I mean, we don't take a lot of junior college players, but in that situation, felt like we needed a little bit of an older kid, a mature kid, both physically and mentally, and he fit the part. And then you turned on the tape, and his consistency of play was tremendous. And so proud for him because one of the things that I really felt when T.O. came in, I thought our personnel really fit the system. And had my fingers crossed. I believed it, but you never know until you put it on the field. And now watching it, it's built for the kids that we have here. And so I think it's been a real advantage to him and credit to him, and excited about the way he's playing and proud for him.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Clay, it's 8 o'clock. I know we need to let you go. Thank you for joining us. We do have Graham Harrell and Gary Bryant on the line, so we'll turn it over to them.
Thanks, guys. Take care.
And a reminder to raise your hand if you have questions for either Graham or Gary. Gary's coming off a 4-reception game, career high against Washington State. So we'll start. Shotgun, you had your hand up still? You have a question?
Hey, Graham. Clay just talked about how you guys have been having lulls and went back to reference some games from last year. Why are you guys having those lulls and not being able to play a full 60 minutes as an offense?
It's tough to, I'm not real sure. I think obviously that's something that we want to do. And, you know, when you get up early, sometimes it's hard to keep the energy up. And I think that's probably what happened. But obviously we're happy to be 4-0.
Is that something that you can coach to change?
You know, I think that's just something you have to continually preach. And it's part of having a great culture is, you know, even when you're up, be excited to play. And we talk about that all the time. And something that, like I said, we're working on.
Ryan Young.
Graham, Brett Nealon and Jalen McKenzie both kind of tweeted out if only people knew what they went through last week. Can you give us a sense for how much that line actually got to work together in practice before the game?
None, to be honest with you. You know, we didn't have any of our offensive linemen until Saturday, and they showed up and did a hell of a job on no practice. So, you know, those guys really did a nice job. They were the only guy that played in practice was Cortland, you know, and so the rest of those guys came out of a hotel on Saturday afternoon and showed up and played on Sunday. And like I said, I think it's a credit to them that they were able to still play at the level they played at.
What was the apprehension of the coaching staff entering that game, not knowing what you were going to get from that unit, I guess?
Well, the good thing about those guys, they played a lot of football games together. They have a lot of experience, and they, you know, like I said, that's a talented group with a lot of experience. Obviously, you can't replace reps. You can't replace seeing things and working and passing things off together. And so you're missing that by not having them on the practice field. But the thing about it is the way that our system's built. I think that you know, we have roles, and if you just go out there and follow your rules and do your job, you still give yourself a chance to be successful. And that's what those guys did. And like I said, it's a credit to them, a credit to their talent and their experience that, for 2 weeks they have to be locked up because of contact tracing, and they can still come out and perform at such a high level.
Ryan Karchi.
Graham, what was it that Keaton did especially well in that past game that maybe you might not have seen from him in the previous?
I don't think he did. He just did his job at a high level, and that's what we expect out of Keaton. I think that those first couple of games, a ball slipped out of his hand, and then he started thinking the balls were slick. Well, I think that's kind of got out of his head, and he's just spinning the ball at a really high level. The thing about it is that first half they came out and tried to play us man, and that's not something we really expected. But when you have a talented receiving crew like we do, and a really good quarterback, and he recognizes that, you can score a lot of points in a hurry if a team tries to do that to you. And I think that Keaton recognized what he was getting. He attacked, he found great matchups and did a great job attacking it. I think he completed 17 straight in the half, and that's pretty good. Some of it is the receivers making plays. Almenrall's the one touchdown to Almenrall, the 3rd and 9 play that he threw an inside fade to him. That was a heck of a catch. The goal line fade. They're both really good throws, but you got to have two guys. Almenrall's making good catches, and Keaton, like I said, recognized a good matchup and made a good throw. And so, I think more than anything, he's just relaxing and playing, and that's what we expect. Again, I think the first couple of weeks he thought those balls were slick, they were slipping out of his hand. That kind of got out of his head, and now he's playing at a high level, or the level we expect him to play at.
With Keaton playing at that level, and you guys taking such a big lead, I know there was a lot of talk about the run game after, especially in the second half, but what's your level of concern, if at all, about the run game?
I think when the quarterback goes 17 of 17 and a half and throws 5 touchdowns, you're doing some things well. So that's our level of concern.
Adam Grossbard.
Graham, when the offensive line, had so little time to work together, does that make it more difficult to evaluate the run game?
I think more than anything, the reason, like I said, the quarterback, if they're going to play man coverage, then your matchups are going to be on the perimeter. I think that Washington State came in with a plan to try to stop the run, and so they put extra people in the box and left themselves vulnerable on the perimeter. And when you do that, it can create, like I said, it can be a long night for you, especially when you got talent out there like we do. And so that's kind of what you saw. But yeah, I think that obviously having guys work together up front is you got to have it. It's tough. And they were trying to, do a lot of twisting and stuff like that to try to disrupt the run game and to try to create pressure in the pass game, with the pass rush. But again, to do that, if you're going to put extra people in the box, you're going to leave yourself vulnerable on the perimeter. And we took advantage of the matchups we had.
Gary, just what are your thoughts getting to play your first USC-UCLA game?
It's definitely exciting, just knowing the history behind it. Obviously, it's going to be a different experience without it being fans, but just being on the field and being out there with the guys is definitely fun.
Eric McKinney.
Gary, with who is coming back at wide receiver for this team, I can't imagine it's the easiest group to break into for a true freshman. What's been that experience like for you, kind of pushing to get on the field this year?
Just learning different techniques and things from the guys. Obviously, it's TV's an older guy. St. Brown, he's been here for a while as well. So learning what they do and then learning how to do it has just been good on my end. So when I'm their age, I know the ins and outs of it, and just being there behind them, they just teach me the way.
Are there areas where you've seen your game really grow from taking things from different guys?
Yeah, most definitely. From the first time I've been here till now, practicing now, it's just little things, little detailed things that they tell me with my routes and stuff like that, learning how to read defenses, college defenses when they're disguising and things like that.
Shotgun.
Graham, are there times when you have there's a priority to getting certain guys involved? I mean, Gary, this game, it looked like you guys were looking for him a little bit more. I mean, there's sometimes you guys have mirror routes and stuff. Do you say, hey, look for this guy first?
No, I think that's just what, part of the quarterback. We let him go through a progression and find the open guy. And something that we always talk about is the ball's going to find you. Now, obviously, with the packaging, I think that Gary, the last couple of weeks, has had really good weeks of practice, and so when you guys are practicing at a really high level and you see a skill level, I think that more than trying to package, like getting that guy the ball, we got to get that guy on the field and the ball will find him. That's kind of the philosophy in what we do offensively. It's not like, hey, we got to create a touch for this kid. It's more, we got to create, we got to get this guy on the field, and when the ball finds him, he's going to do special things. And I think that's what you saw with Gary last week was, like I said, he, early on, he had kind of been nicked up. And so, unfortunately, with spring ball getting canceled and he didn't get to go through a ton of fall camp, just because like kind of little tweaks, he didn't get the reps that we needed, that necessarily needed early on. But as he's gotten healthy and he's been back and he's getting more and more reps in practice, you see he's got a special skill set. And we see that with a lot of guys, obviously, guys that you see him and you say, well, that guy's got a really special skill set. And then the key is, hey, let's get him on the field. And then, like I said, within the system, we think the ball will end up finding people. And that's kind of the beauty of what we do. And I think that you can look at last year as an example of that is, early on, I can remember after the first game, after Fresno last year, Almendraw was frustrated because the ball didn't find him much. But we told him just trust it and the ball's going to find people. And at the end of the season, he looks up and has over 1,000 yards receiving last year. And I think that's just kind of the way the offense works. You can look at Gary, obviously had a big game last week. And after a lot of good practices, like we got to find ways to get him on the field. The ball's going to find him, and that's what happened. And then, you can also look at Almendraw last week, who, had a big year, but hadn't gotten the end zone yet. And then has 4 in the first quarter. And it's not like we necessarily, obviously the little quick pitch to him on the goal line was game plan to just get him a touch there. But everything else was just, hey, the ball's finding the open receiver, and it happened to find Almendraw 4 times for a touchdown. And that's kind of what we try to preach to these guys is just, hey, be patient, trust the process, and we're going to get you on the field, and then the ball's going to find you when the ball finds you. And 1 week it might be one guy's turn, and then the next week it might be another guy's turn. But that's the beauty of it is you can't just try to take one guy away because we do think we have a lot of weapons, and the ball's going to find them all.
With Amon-Ra, did you try to get him in the slot a little bit more this game? Was that part of the game plan just with Washington State, or did you want to see him there a little bit rather than being outside?
Oh, we love Amon-Ra outside. I think that, the cool thing about being here, I was about to say that, there's certain guys that can play both. I think we have a handful of guys that can play, most of our guys can play inside and outside. And because we, like I said, just at this level, you have receivers that have elite skill sets. I think Gary can play inside and out. I think Amon-Ra can play inside and out. Drake can play inside and out. We have a lot of guys that can do that. And again, with putting Gary on the field, with that package we had, it just put some receivers in some different spots, And so depending on our personnel, depending on what we're doing, we get guys inside, we get guys outside. And so going into the game, we knew, yes, that Amon-Ra would obviously play inside, be in the slot some. He played a lot outside as well, but with what we had going in, we knew it would put him inside some. And it's not like we didn't want him outside. We wanted him inside. It's just we felt like with that personnel grouping, putting those guys in those spots gave us our best chance to be successful, and that's what we did. And I think that obviously he had a special night.
Let's go to Ryan Karchi.
Graham, speaking of Amon-Ra, there was some question before the season whether he would just enter his name into the draft and not play at all. Where do you feel like he's taken the biggest step forward or showed that he is that caliber of NFL wide receiver this season?
I think that Amon-Ra has a special, has a really, really unique mindset, and he's one of the more competitive guys I've ever been around. And I think that entering this year, I mean, like I said, it's not like last year he didn't have some killer mindset, but this year it's like gone to a new level, to be honest with you. Just the way he approaches practice, he goes as hard as he can go. If we tell him to jog through, he's probably running the route full speed, you know, and that's just kind of his mindset, and that's been his mentality this year. Is this is a year that I have something to prove? He's obviously played at a lot of different spots, like we've talked about. We've motioned him to the backfield a couple times. He's played on the outside. He's played in the slot. I think that he's able to show a lot of, by doing that, he's able to bring value and show how versatile he really is. And so I think that's where, I think Pittman kind of had that mentality last year. And I think a lot of guys, when they think this could be their last year in college football, the mindset, even though both those guys probably had elite mindsets before their final year, it just goes to a new level. The work ethic, the way they approach every single day, like this one, this is every single day is really important to them. And I think that's what we've seen out of Almenrol, even going back to those summer workouts when we weren't sure if we were going to have a season. I still think he was using that as a time as, hey, I'm developing and I'm getting better every single day, because whether we have a season or not, this is a great opportunity for me to grow. And like I said, if this is his last season, he knew that every day counts. And because you're competing, you're not only with the guys in your program, but you're competing with everyone in the country whenever you start getting into the NFL draft and stuff. And so, I think that's where you've seen the biggest difference in Almenrol. It's kind of like that leadership role. He's not scared to speak up because he knows, like, hey, if this is it, I want this to be a special one for me. Every single day he approaches it like, hey, I've got to go out there and be great today because this could be it for me. And so, like I said, I think that's where I've seen the biggest difference with Almenrol this year compared to last year.
Ryan Young.
Gary, getting this experience this year and going through this, what's the one area you're going to now challenge yourself this offseason to get better at, knowing what it takes to do what you want to do at this level?
Just getting bigger, stronger, and faster. One thing I could do is just get bigger. Something else I work on is just evolving my game and learning the plays inside out. Being out there, being comfortable, knowing what's going to be called, and just being out there to play loose. I got a pretty good feel of that. Last week we played against Washington State, and it feels pretty good learning the plays and being out there. So having another year under my belt and knowing the plays like the back of my hand, it would be way easier for me.
And then going into last week's game, did you know or have a sense that you were going to have a bigger role, or is it just going to develop during the game?
Well, we developed a package and we were running it all practice. I didn't know how much it was going to be called during the game, but I knew that it was going to be called. So I was just in my head was just taking the best chances I had when I was on the field.
Ryan Karchi.
Graham, you mentioned that Cortland was the only offensive lineman that was able to practice. How did you guys practice with the offensive line? Or like, what sort of practice was he even able to get when, the guys he was supposed to play next to weren't in the game or weren't at practice?
To be honest, we didn't practice with the offensive line. He just got to go over there, what we call the play pen over there. It's the turf, and he stayed in his play pen, and we stayed on the grass basically. But it was an interesting week of practice. I think that our skill guys really did a great job of, because we didn't have an offensive line, we weren't really able to do team periods, and so the team periods just became like 7-on-7 almost walkthroughs. But they did a great job of when we went against our defense, understanding this is our chance that we got to be great and we have to do a really good job of practicing at a really high level. And I think our skill guys did a great job of that, of going when we did 7-on-7 against our defense, and when we did 1-on-1s, the intensity level picked up because that was going to be our only chance to kind of get full speed reps of what we were working on that week. And then when we were supposed to go team, like I said, it was just kind of a 7-on-7 look, walk through just to kind of polish some plays. And they kept Casey and Cortland over there in the play pen and just did continual individual and walk through some blitzes and stuff like that. The best that they could to try to prepare them mentally to go play without getting a ton of physical reps. And like I said, it's a tough task. But I think that the guys that were out there, the younger linemen that were out there, approached it really well. Like I say, Casey and Cortland were both together, both out there. And so those guys, I think, had the right mindset and understood that getting mental reps was going to be as important as anything, and seeing different things, and so that they could anticipate what was coming hopefully on Saturday. And then when the crew gets out there, just go try to play. And so, like I said, we didn't do we did 0 teamwork last week because of the situation that we had. But that's just part of it, especially with the current circumstances. There's going to be some adversity that you face, and there's going to be some situations that aren't ideal, but you got to try to make the most of them. And that's what we try to do.
Last one to Gary. Gary, they're starting to use you now more in kickoff returns also. How's that play into your skill set? Is that something you like to do?
Yeah, most definitely. I love having the ball in my hands. So any aspect it is, just being able to contribute to the team on kickoff return, trying to get us big returns when we do have the ability to take it out the end zone or stuff like that. I definitely believe in what Coach Snyder is doing here, and it is going to play a big role in the season.
Okay, I don't see any more questions. I appreciate you guys coming on. Graham and Gary, thanks. Good job. A reminder to the media, tomorrow at 8 a.m. we'll have Todd Orlando and Nick Figueroa will join us. Coach Helton will be back with us on Thursday at 8 a.m. And also a reminder that tonight at 7 we have a home basketball game. We hope to see you out there at that. So with that, thanks everybody for joining us, and we'll see you soon.